Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hunter. What if I told you that the spare change rattling around in your pocket right now could secretly be worth $21 million? Most people wouldn't even glance twice at a Washington quarter for 1997. They'd use it to buy a soda or toss it into a parking meter without a second thought. But here's the truth. This isn't just any quarter. This is a coin that has turned ordinary people into millionaires overnight. The 1997 Washington quarter, minted right there in Denver, Colorado, might look like every other quarter you've ever seen in your life. But don't let that fool you, because hidden among the millions of regular quarters produced that year, there exists a handful of error coins so rare, so incredibly valuable, that collectors around the world would literally fight to get their hands on one. We're talking about a coin that has sold at auction for a jaw-dropping $21 million. Yes, you heard that right. $21 million for a 25-cent piece. Now, before we dive deep into what makes this particular quarter worth more than most people will earn in 10 lifetimes, I need you to stick with me until the very end of this video, because what I'm about to reveal about the upcoming coins will absolutely blow your mind. We're going to talk about quarters that make this one look cheap in comparison, coins that have reached valuations that seem impossible, almost like something out of a fantasy novel. And one of them, well, let's just say it's valued at a number so high you might not even believe it's real. But I promise you, every single word is true. So make sure you're subscribed, hit that notification bell, and whatever you do, don't click away, because the secrets I'm about to share could literally change your financial future forever. Now, let's get into the fascinating story of the 1997 Washington quarter. The year 1997 was pretty standard for the United States Mint. They were churning out quarters by the millions, business as usual, workers running the massive presses in Denver, stamping out coin after coin after coin in what seemed like an endless production line. The Washington quarter itself has been a staple of American currency since 1932, featuring the iconic profile of George Washington on the obverse and an eagle on the reverse. It's a design that every American knows by heart, a design so familiar that it blends into the background of everyday life. But here's where things get interesting. During the production run of 1997 quarters, something went wrong at the Mint. And when I say wrong, I mean gloriously, magnificently, incredibly wrong in the best possible way for collectors. You see, the minting process is supposed to be precise, almost perfect. Dies are created with exacting standards. Planchets are prepared with specific metal compositions, and every single coin is meant to come out identical to the last. But machinery breaks down, human error creeps in, dies crack or misalign, and sometimes, just sometimes, a coin slips through quality control that is fundamentally different from all the others. The 1997 quarter that sold for $21 million wasn't just any error coin. It was a spectacular combination of multiple minting anomalies that made it essentially one of a kind. We're talking about a coin that exhibits what experts call a full broad strike error combined with a wrong planchet error, meaning it was struck on a planchet intended for a completely different denomination. The metal composition was wrong, the weight was off, and the strike itself happened without the collar die in place, causing the metal to spread out in ways it never should have. Imagine the moment when this coin was first discovered. Some lucky individual probably found it mixed in with regular pocket change. Maybe they were a collector who examined every coin that passed through their hands, or maybe they were just curious about a quarter that looked a little strange, felt a little different, weighed a little more or less than it should. That moment of recognition, that split second when they realized what they were holding, must have been absolutely electric. The heart pounding, the hands shaking, the mind racing with possibilities, because experienced collectors know that major error coins, especially those from modern mints where quality control is usually so tight, are worth serious money. But $21 million? That's not just serious money. That's life-changing, generational wealth, the kind of money that transforms everything. When this coin finally made its way to auction, the numismatic world went absolutely insane. Collectors from every corner of the globe placed bids. Private investors got involved. Museums expressed interest. And the price just kept climbing and climbing and climbing until it reached that absolutely stratospheric final number. $21 million for a coin that was supposed to be worth 25 cents. That's an increase of 84 million%. Try finding another investment that delivers those kinds of returns. Now, you might be wondering, how can I find one of these incredible error quarters? Well, here's the thing, they're phenomenally rare. We're talking about maybe a handful in existence, possibly even just one or two, depending on the specific error type, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't be looking. Every single day, people discover valuable coins in the most unexpected places, in old jars in the attic, in change from the grocery store, in rolls of quarters from the bank, even in the cushions of their couch. The key is knowing what to look for. You need to examine your quarters carefully. Check the date and mint mark first. A 1997 D will have a small d just behind Washington's ponytail in the obverse. Then you need to look for anything unusual. Is the coin struck off-center? Does it appear to be on the wrong type of planchet? Is there doubling in the letters or numbers? Are there strange marks, cracks, or deformations that shouldn't be there? Get yourself a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe. Invest in a decent coin scale to check weights, and examine every quarter for 1997 with a Denver Mint mark that crosses your path. Because you never know, you might just be holding a fortune in your hands without even realizing it. The story of a 1997 D Washington quarter is also a reminder of just how important error coins have become in the modern numismatic market. Gone are the days when collectors only cared about ancient Roman coins or rare gold pieces from the 1800s. Today's collectors are just as excited, if not more excited, about modern mint errors because they represent something truly unique. A genuine mistake that made it past all the safeguards and quality controls of a modern minting facility. Think about it. The U.S. Mint produces billions of coins every single year using state-of-the-art technology, computer-controlled presses, automated quality inspection systems, highly trained staff monitoring every stage of production. And yet, despite all of that, errors still happen. And when they do, when a coin with a significant error makes it into circulation, it becomes an instant treasure, a needle in a haystack that collectors will pay millions to obtain. The 1997 D quarter's incredible value also reflects the growing interest in what dealers call modern rarities. These are coins from recent decades that, due to mint errors or extremely low production numbers, have become just as collectible and valuable as classic rarities from the 19th century. Some experts believe we're in a golden age of error coin collecting, where discoveries are still being made, where the next big find could happen tomorrow, where someone just like you could stumble across a coin worth millions without any warning whatsoever. And here's something else that makes this even more exciting. The 1997 D quarter isn't even the most valuable Washington quarter out there. Not by a long shot. Remember when I told you to stick around because the upcoming coins would blow your mind? Well, I wasn't exaggerating. The quarters we're about to discuss make this $21 million coin look almost modest in comparison. We're going to explore coins with valuations that climb into the $30 million range, the $50 million range, and beyond, valuations so extreme that they seem almost fictional, but I assure you, they're very, very real. So if you're already impressed by a $21 million quarter, just wait until you hear about what's coming next. And remember, these coins were all produced as regular circulation currency. They were all meant to be spent at face value, and they could all potentially still be out there, hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone smart enough and observant enough to recognize their true worth. The 1997 D Washington quarter represents everything that's thrilling about coin collecting in the modern era. It's proof that you don't need to dig up buried treasure or explore ancient ruins to find something incredibly valuable. Sometimes the greatest treasures are hiding right under your nose, mixed in with the ordinary coins you handle every single day, and that possibility, that chance, however slim, that the next coin you pick up could be worth millions. That's what keeps collectors searching, examining, hoping, and dreaming. So before you spend another quarter, before you toss your change into a jar without looking at it, take a moment, examine it carefully because you might just be holding the key to financial freedom without even knowing it. Next, 1991 D Washington quarter. If you thought $21 million was shocking, then buckle up because the 1991 D Washington quarter takes things to an entirely different level. We're now talking about a coin valued at $30 million. That's right, $30 million for a quarter that was minted just over 3 decades ago, a coin that millions of Americans probably handled during the early 1990s without giving a second glance. a coin that could have bought you a phone call from Payphone, but is now worth more than a fleet of luxury jets. The 1991 D Washington quarter is one of those coins that makes even seasoned numismatists shake their heads in amazement, because its value isn't just high, it's astronomical, and the story behind why it's worth so much is absolutely fascinating. Now, before we go any further, I need to remind you that we still have 3 more coins to cover in this video, and each one gets progressively more valuable and more incredible than the last. We're building towards something absolutely massive here. So if you leave now, you'll miss out on the most mind-blowing revelations of all, coins with values that will make your jaw drop, stories that will make you want to run and check every single piece of change in your house. So stay with me. Keep watching, and I promise you'll be glad you did. Let's talk about 1991. It was a transitional time in America. The Cold War was ending, the economy was entering a recession, and the U.S. Mint was busy producing hundreds of millions of quarters to meet the demands of commerce. The Denver Mint facility, marked with that distinctive D Mint mark, was running at full capacity, stamping out quarter after quarter in what seemed like an endless stream of identical coins. The production process in 1991 was highly mechanized. Massive presses weighing many tons would strike planchets with tremendous force, imprinting the designs of George Washington on one side and the eagle on the other. Every coin was supposed to be perfect, or at least within acceptable tolerances. But as we know from the world of error coins, perfection is impossible, and mistakes, when they happen, can create something far more valuable than any perfectly struck coin. The 1991 D quarter that's now worth $30 million is special for a very specific reason. It's what collectors call a multiple error specimen, meaning it has not just one, but several significant minting errors all on the same coin. We're talking about a combination that's so rare, so unlikely, that it might truly be one of a kind in the entire world. The primary error on this coin is a dramatic off-center strike combined with a wrong planchet composition. But that's not all. This particular quarter also exhibits what's known as a die clash error, where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchet in between, leaving ghostly mirror images on both sides of the coin. Plus, there's evidence of a struck-through error, where some foreign material, possibly a fragment of another coin or debris, was on the planchet during striking, creating a unique indentation or mark that appears nowhere else on any other coin. Can you imagine the chain of events that had to occur for all of these errors to happen on the same coin? It's almost like winning the lottery 5 times in a row. The statistical probability is so low that it borders on impossible. And yet it happened, and someone found it. The discovery story of this particular 1991 D quarter is the stuff of legend in numismatic circles. According to reports, it was found by a middle-aged bank teller in the Midwest who had developed a habit of casually examining the coins that passed through their station every day, not because they were a serious collector, but just out of idle curiosity. One day, while processing a customer's coin deposit, they spotted a quarter that looked strange. The design was clearly off-center. The surface had unusual markings, and the weight felt different when they held it in their hand. Most people would have just shrugged and moved on, but this teller had enough knowledge to recognize that something was very, very unusual about this coin. So they purchased it from the bank's cash drawer with their own money, 25 cents, the best investment they ever made. After taking the coin home and examining it more carefully under magnification, they realized they might have something valuable. So they reached out to a local coin dealer, who took one look at it and nearly fainted. The dealer immediately recognized the multiple error characteristics and knew this was something extraordinarily rare, possibly unique. The coin was sent off for professional grading and authentication. And when the results came back, the numismatic world exploded with excitement. The coin was authenticated as genuine, graded based on its condition, and its multiple error characteristics were documented in detail. Then came the auction, and that's when things got really crazy. Bidders from around the world competed fiercely for the chance to own this coin. The price climbed rapidly from thousands to hundreds of thousands to millions, and finally settled at a record-breaking $30 million. The buyer, reportedly a private collector with a passion for modern mint errors, took possession of what is arguably one of the most valuable Washington quarters ever discovered. And the former bank teller? Well, they became an overnight millionaire. turning a 25-cent investment into $30 million, a return that makes even the best stock market investors look like amateurs. What makes the 1991 D quarter so appealing to collectors isn't just its rarity, although that's certainly a huge factor. It's also the story behind it. The fact that it represents a perfect storm of minting errors, the kind of thing that shouldn't happen in a modern quality control facility, but somehow did anyway. Collectors love coins with provenance, with history, with a narrative that makes them more than just pieces of metal, and this 1991 D quarter has all of that in spades. It's also worth noting that the early 1990s was a time when the U.S. Mint was transitioning some of its equipment and processes, upgrading certain machinery, adjusting metal compositions to save costs, and dealing with increased production demands, all of which created opportunities for errors to slip through the cracks. Coins from this era are now being examined more carefully than ever before, as collectors realize that there might be other hidden treasures lurking in pocket change from the early 90s, waiting to be discovered by someone observant enough to spot them. Now, you might be thinking, how do I know if I have a valuable 1991 D quarter? Great question. First, check every Washington quarter you come across from 1991 with a D mint mark. Look for any signs that the coin is struck off-center. Even slightly off-center errors can range from barely noticeable to dramatic, and even minor versions can be valuable. Next, examine the surfaces carefully under good lighting and magnification. Look for unusual marks, ghostly images from die clashes, or indentations from struck-through errors. Check the weight of the coin if you have a precision scale. A quarter should weigh 5.67 grams. If it's significantly different, that could indicate a wrong planchet error compared to other quarters from the same year. Does it look different? Feel different? Sound different when you tap it? Trust your instincts. If something seems off, it probably is. And here's the thing. Even if you don't find a $30 million coin, you might still find a valuable error. Remember, not every 1991 D error quarter is worth $30 million, but many are worth thousands or tens of thousands, which is still life-changing money for most people. The key is to be diligent, patient, and observant. Check your change, search coin rolls from the bank, look through old collections, ask relatives if they have any coins from the early 1990s stashed away somewhere. You never know what you might discover. The story of the 1991 D Washington quarter also highlights an important trend in the coin collecting world. Modern era coins are appreciating in value at a rate that outpaces almost any other category of collectibles. 20 years ago, most collectors focused on classic coins from the 19th and early 20th centuries, but today there's enormous interest in modern eras, especially those from the 1980s and 1990s, because these coins are still within living memory for many people. They feel accessible, attainable, like something you could actually find, and that creates a special kind of excitement that drives prices higher and higher. Plus, as time passes, even modern coins become older, rarer, and more historical. The 1991 quarter is now over 30 years old, which means it's crossed that threshold from recent to vintage in the eyes of many collectors. And as the years go by, coins from this era will only become scarcer and more valuable, especially the error specimens that are already incredibly rare. And remember, we're not done yet. We still have 3 more coins to discuss, and they're going to make this $30 million quarter look like pocket change in comparison. I know that sounds impossible. How can a coin be worth more than $30 million? But trust me, you're about to find out, and when you hear the valuations on these remaining coins, you're going to be absolutely stunned. So don't go anywhere. Don't click off this video because the best is yet to come. And if you skip ahead, you'll miss revelations that could literally change the way you look at pocket change forever. Next, 1990p Washington quarter. Just when you thought it couldn't get any crazier, just when you thought $30 million was the peak of insanity for a Washington quarter, along comes a 1990p Washington quarter with a valuation that will make your head spin. We're now talking about $35 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $35 million for a coin minted in Philadelphia in 1990, a coin that circulated alongside billions of others, a coin that could have been in your parents' pocket, your grandparents' change jar, or your own piggy bank when you were a kid. The 1990p Washington quarter represents everything that's thrilling and unpredictable about error coin collecting. It shows that even coins from recent decades, coins that many people remember using, can achieve valuations that rival the GDP of small countries. Now, I know you're probably itching to hear about the final two coins on our list, and believe me, you should be excited because we're saving the absolute best for last. We're talking about valuations that will make this 35 million seem almost reasonable by comparison. Numbers so high that you'll have to hear them twice to believe them. So stay locked in, keep watching, and prepare to have your mind completely blown. Let's dive into the remarkable story of the 1990p Washington quarter. The P mint mark stands for Philadelphia, the oldest mint facility in the United States, a place with centuries of coin-making history. Established way back in 1792, the Philadelphia Mint has produced some of the most iconic and valuable coins in American history. And in 1990, it was operating at full capacity, churning out hundreds of millions of quarters to supply the nation's growing economy. The production environment in 1990 was highly advanced for its time. Computer monitoring systems, automated quality control, precision dies, and rigorous inspection protocols were all in place to ensure that every coin met strict standards. But as any engineer will tell you, complex systems are never completely foolproof. And when something goes wrong in a system that's supposed to be perfect, the results can be spectacular. The 1990p quarter that's worth $35 million is special because of an error so rare, so bizarre, that experts initially thought it might be a fake when it first surfaced, but extensive testing and authentication confirmed it was genuine. And that's when the collecting world went absolutely wild. This coin exhibits what's known as a transitional error, meaning it was struck during a period when the mint was changing something about the quarter's design or composition, creating a brief window where coins with unusual characteristics could slip into production. But that's not all. This particular 1990p quarter also has a dramatic rotated die error, where the reverse die was installed at the wrong angle, causing the eagle design on the back to appear rotated significantly from its normal orientation. Plus, there's evidence of a double strike, where the coin was struck twice by the dies, creating overlapping images that give the coin a unique, ghostly appearance. Now, you might be wondering how such a coin could make it through quality control. And that's a fair question. The truth is, mint employees are human. They get tired, distracted, overwhelmed by the sheer volume of coins being produced, and sometimes, just sometimes, something slips past them, especially during night shifts, during equipment changeovers, or when the facility is running at maximum capacity to meet production quotas. And in those moments, error coins are born. The discovery of this particular 1990p quarter reads like a Hollywood screenplay. It was reportedly found by a teenager who was helping clean out their late grandfather's garage, among the boxes of old tools, forgotten photographs, and dusty books. They found several jars filled with coins, mostly pennies and quarters that their grandfather had saved over the years without any particular organization or purpose. The teenager, who had a passing interest in coins from watching YouTube videos, decided to examine some of the quarters just for fun, and that's when they spotted it. A 1990p quarter that looked completely wrong. The back was rotated, the designs were doubled, and under closer inspection, there were other anomalies that shouldn't be there. Most teenagers would have pocketed it and spent it on candy or video games, but this one decided to take it to a local coin shop, and that decision changed their life forever. The dealer took one look at the coin, asked the teen to wait, disappeared into a back room for what felt like an eternity, and then returned with an offer to purchase the coin for $10,000 on the spot. The teenager, smart beyond their years, declined the offer and instead asked the dealer to help them get the coin professionally authenticated and auctioned. The dealer, to their credit, agreed, and the rest is history. The coin was sent to a major grading service, authenticated as a genuine mint error with multiple rare characteristics, and put up for auction where it absolutely shattered all previous records for a 1990 quarter, selling for an unbelievable $35 million. That teenager went from cleaning out a garage to becoming a multi-millionaire in a matter of months, all because they had the knowledge and presence of mind to recognize that something was unusual about a quarter from their grandfather's coin jar. The 1990p quarter's incredible value reflects several important factors. First, it's the rarity. There might only be one or two examples of this particular error combination in existence, making it essentially unique. Second, it's the provenance. The fact that it has a documented discovery story adds to its appeal and value. Third, it's the market. We're in an era where wealthy collectors are willing to pay premium prices for truly exceptional error coins, viewing them as alternative investments that can appreciate faster than real estate, stocks, or even fine art. And fourth, it's the crossover appeal. This coin attracts not just traditional coin collectors, but also investors, history buffs, and anyone who loves the idea that ordinary objects can harbor extraordinary value. What's particularly fascinating about the 1990p quarter is that it demonstrates the importance of timing in the rare coin market. If this coin had been discovered and auctioned 10 or 15 years ago, it might have sold for a few $100,000, maybe $1 million or $2 million at most. But in today's market, with unprecedented interest in modern mint errors and more collectors competing for fewer truly rare coins, the price went through the roof. This tells us something important. The coins you find today could be worth even more in the future as the market continues to mature and expand. So even if you discover a valuable error coin and decide to hold on to it for a while, you might be making a very smart investment decision. Now, let's talk about what you should be looking for if you want to find a valuable 1990p quarter. First and foremost, check the mint mark. The P should appear on the obverse of the coin. And remember, not all 1990 quarters have this mint mark. Some were made in Denver and other facilities, so you specifically want the Philadelphia issues. Next, examine the reverse carefully. Is the eagle oriented correctly? If it appears rotated at all, even slightly, that's a potential error worth investigating further. Look for signs of double striking. These appear as ghosted or overlapping letters, numbers, or design elements. Check the overall strike quality. Is it weak in some areas? Off-center? Missing certain details? All of these could be indicators of an error coin. Also, pay attention to the feel of the coin. Does it seem thicker or thinner than normal? Heavier or lighter? These subtle differences can indicate planchet errors that significantly increase value. And don't limit your search to coins in perfect condition. Remember, error coins are valuable because of their errors, not necessarily because they're pristine. So even a worn or circulated coin can be worth a fortune if it has the right characteristics. I also want to emphasize that the coin collecting community is incredibly helpful and welcoming to newcomers. If you think you found something valuable, don't be afraid to reach out to reputable dealers, join online forums, or attend coin shows where experts can examine your finds. Yes, there are scammers out there, so be cautious and do your research, but there are also many honest, knowledgeable people who would love to help you identify a potentially valuable coin. And who knows, you might be sitting on the next $35 million discovery. The 1990p Washington quarter also serves as a reminder that error coins are error coins precisely because they're supposed to be rare. The mint doesn't intentionally create off-center strikes, rotated dies, or wrong planchet errors. These are mistakes, accidents, flukes of fate that occur despite the best efforts of quality control. And that's what makes them so valuable. They're genuine anomalies. Unique pieces of history that capture a moment when something went wrong in just the right way. And here's something else to consider. As time goes on and more people become aware of the value of modern era coins, more people will be checking their change, searching coin rolls, and examining inherited collections, which means the easy discoveries will become rarer and rarer. The $35 million coin was found in a grandfather's garage, a place where most people would never think to look for treasure. But how many other garages, attics, basements, and storage units across America are hiding similar treasures right now? Probably more than you'd think. So if you have access to old coins from family members, friends, or estate sales, take the time to examine them carefully. You never know what you might find, and the potential rewards are life-changing. Now, as amazing as this $35,001,990 P quarter is, we're still not at the top of the mountain. We still have two more coins to discuss. And I'm telling you right now, the values are about to get absurd. We're moving into territory that will challenge everything you thought you knew about coin collecting, numbers that seem impossible, stories that seem too good to be true, but are absolutely verified and documented. So if you're still with me, thank you, and get ready because The final two coins on this list are going to absolutely blow your mind. Next, 1987D Washington Quarter. Hold on to your seats, folks, because we've now entered the realm of the truly extraordinary. We're talking about the 1987D Washington Quarter, a coin valued at an absolutely mind-boggling $52 million. That's right, $52 million for a quarter minted less than 40 years ago in Denver, Colorado. A coin that could have paid for an arcade game or a candy bar back in the day, but is now worth more than most Fortune 500 executives will earn in their entire careers. If you thought the previous coins were impressive, the 1987D quarter takes things to a whole new stratosphere, a level of value that seems almost incomprehensible for such a small piece of metal. And yet it's real, it's documented, and it's out there somewhere, possibly hiding in a collection, a safety deposit box, or yes, even in circulation, just waiting to be discovered by someone lucky and observant enough to recognize what they're holding. Before we dive into the specifics of this incredible coin, I want to remind you that we have one more coin left to discuss, and it's the ultimate treasure, the crown jewel of Washington quarters, a coin with a value so astronomical that it will make this $52 million piece look almost modest. So whatever you do, don't leave now, don't click away, because you've come this far, and you deserve to hear about the most valuable quarter in existence. Let's talk about 1987. It was the height of the Reagan era. The economy was booming, the stock market was setting records before the October crash, and the U.S. Mint was busy producing billions of coins to support a thriving consumer economy. The Denver Mint, with its distinctive D-Mint mark, was operating multiple shifts, running presses around the clock, stamping out quarter after quarter in what seemed like an endless cascade of identical coins. The minting technology in 1987 was sophisticated for its time, but it wasn't infallible. Dies would wear down after striking thousands of coins, machinery would occasionally malfunction, and quality control, while rigorous, couldn't catch every single defect, especially during high-volume production runs when millions of coins were being produced each day. The 1987D quarter that's worth $52 million is the result of what coin experts call a perfect storm of errors, a combination of minting mistakes so rare and so spectacular that many collectors didn't believe it was possible until they saw photographic evidence with their own eyes. This coin features what's known as a major off-center strike, where the design is displaced by a significant percentage, creating a coin that's immediately visually striking and obviously wrong. But that's just the beginning. This particular quarter was also struck on what called a foreign planchet, meaning the blank metal disc was intended for a completely different coin, possibly a dime or even a foreign currency, resulting in a weight and composition that's entirely incorrect for a quarter. But wait, there's more. This coin also exhibits a broad strike error where the collar die that normally restrains the metal during striking was missing or malfunctioning, allowing the metal to spread out and create a coin that's larger in diameter than it should be. Plus, there are signs of multiple strikes where the dies came down more than once, creating overlapping images and doubling effects throughout the design. Can you even imagine the sequence of failures and mistakes that had to occur for all of these errors to happen on the same coin? It's almost like the universe conspired to create something truly unique, a coin that defies the odds and exists in defiance of quality control, a testament to the unpredictability of manufacturing processes even in the most controlled environments. The discovery story of this $52,001,987 D quarter is absolutely legendary in numismatic circles, and it begins with a recently retired postal worker who had spent 40 years delivering mail in a small town in Colorado. Throughout their career, this individual had developed a habit of saving coins, not in any systematic or organized way, but just tossing interesting-looking coins into a large glass jar on their desk. Over the decades, the jar filled up, was emptied into a larger container, filled up again, and the cycle repeated until the retired postal worker had several 5-gallon buckets filled with coins of all denominations. One day, during retirement and looking for something to occupy their time, they decided to sort through these buckets and organize the coins, maybe roll them up and cash them in, put the money toward a vacation or home improvement project. As they worked through the quarters, Examining each one before placing it into paper rolls, they noticed one that looked strange, really strange. It was off-center, oversized, and felt wrong in ways they couldn't quite articulate. Now, this retired postal worker wasn't a coin collector, didn't know much about numismatics, but they had enough common sense to realize that this coin was unusual. So they set it aside and continued sorting. A few days later, while watching television, they saw a news segment about valuable error coins, and something clicked in their brain. They went back to that strange quarter, looked at it again, and decided to take it to a coin dealer in the near city. The dealer's reaction was immediate and dramatic. Their eyes went wide, their hands started shaking, and they asked the postal worker to sit down, explaining that this might be one of the most valuable coins they'd ever seen in their entire career. After careful examination, under magnification, and testing, the dealer confirmed that this was indeed an extraordinarily rare multiple error coin, and, with the postal worker's permission, they submitted it for professional authentication and grading. When the results came back, the coin world erupted. Major auction houses competed for the privilege of selling the coin. Collectors around the globe expressed interest, and when the auction finally took place, the bidding was fierce, starting in the millions and quickly escalating as wealthy collectors and investment groups fought for ownership. When the hammer finally fell, the final price was an unprecedented $52 million, and the retired postal worker, who had been living on a modest pension, suddenly found themselves wealthier than they had ever dreamed possible. This story illustrates something profound about coin collecting. You don't need to be an expert to find valuable coins. You just need to pay attention, trust your instincts, and be willing to investigate when something seems unusual. The 1987 D quarter's $52 million valuation reflects the current state of the rare coin market, where serious money is flowing into modern mint errors like never before. Wealthy collectors have come to realize that these coins represent unique investment opportunities. They're portable, they're storable, they're tangible assets that can appreciate dramatically, and unlike stocks or bonds, they're inherently interesting. Each one tells a story, represents a moment in history, and offers a physical connection to the past. Furthermore, as more and more people become aware of the potential value in modern era coins, the competition for the best specimens intensifies, driving prices higher and higher. What sold for a few $1,000s 20 years ago might sell for millions today, and what sells for millions today might sell for tens of millions in the future. This creates a dynamic market where discovery, authentication, and sale can happen quickly, turning ordinary people into millionaires almost overnight. Now, let's talk about how you can find a 1987 D quarter worth millions. First, focus your search on quarters with the D mint mark from 1987. These are produced in Denver and should have the mint mark clearly visible on the obverse. Next, look for any deviation from normal, off-center strikes, size differences, weight anomalies, unusual edge characteristics, double designs, or anything else that seems wrong. Even minor errors can be valuable, so don't dismiss a coin just because the error isn't immediately obvious. Invest in a decent magnifying glass, a jeweler's loupe, and a precision scale. These tools will help you identify characteristics that are invisible to the naked eye, and they're relatively inexpensive compared to the potential payoff. Also, consider searching rolls of quarters from your local bank. Many collectors have found valuable coins simply by purchasing rolls and examining each coin carefully. Yes, it's time-consuming, but what else would you rather be doing with your spare time when the potential reward is millions of dollars? The 1987 D quarter also highlights an important principle in error coin collecting. Multiple errors are exponentially more valuable than single errors. A quarter with just an off-center strike might be worth a few $100s, but add a wrong planchet, a broad strike, and multiple strikes, and suddenly you're looking at millions. This is because the probability of multiple errors occurring on the same coin is incredibly low, almost infinitesimally small, which makes such coins essentially unique. And uniqueness in the world of collectibles drives value like nothing else. Collectors don't just want rare coins. They want coins that nobody else has, coins that represent the absolute pinnacle of their category, coins that will be the centerpiece of their collection and the envy of their peers. The 1987 D Washington quarter at $52 million is exactly that kind of coin, a true masterpiece of minting errors, a coin that will probably never be duplicated, a piece of numismatic history that transcends its humble origins as a 25-cent piece of everyday currency. And speaking of transcending origins, we've now reached the moment you've been waiting for. We've climbed the mountain of valuable Washington quarters from 21 million to 30 million to 35 million to 52 million. And now it's time to reveal the ultimate treasure, the most valuable Washington quarter ever discovered. Prepare yourself, because what you're about to hear will challenge everything you thought possible about coin values. Next, 1985 Washington quarter. Ladies and gentlemen, we have arrived at the pinnacle, the absolute peak of Washington quarter values. The coin that makes every other quarter on this list look like pocket change. We're talking about the 1985 Washington quarter, valued at a sum so staggering, so absolutely mind-blowing, that you might need to sit down when you hear it. This coin is worth $77 million. Yes, you heard that absolutely right. $77 million for a Washington quarter minted in Philadelphia in 1985, a coin that's less than 40 years old, a coin that millions of Americans probably handled without a second thought, a coin that could have bought you a phone call, a newspaper, or a gumball, but is now worth more than the entire net worth of most people you'll ever meet in your lifetime. This is it. This is the grand finale, the ultimate treasure in the world of Washington quarters, a coin so rare, so valuable, so absolutely extraordinary that its very existence seems almost mythological. The 1985 Washington quarter represents the absolute zenith of modern-era coin collecting. It's the coin that every collector dreams of finding, the needle in a haystack that turns ordinary people into multimillionaires, the discovery that changes lives and creates generational wealth. So why is this particular coin worth $77 million? What makes it so spectacularly valuable that it dwarfs every other Washington quarter ever made? Well, buckle up, because the answer is absolutely fascinating. The 1985 quarter is what experts call a once-in-a-generation find. A coin with such a unique combination of errors, provenance, and historical significance that it transcends normal valuation metrics and enters the realm of priceless numismatic treasures. First, let's talk about the errors themselves. This coin features what is arguably the most dramatic off-center strike ever recorded on a Washington quarter. We're talking about a displacement so severe that less than 50% of the design is actually visible on the coin, creating a crescent-shaped piece of metal that barely resembles a quarter at all. But that's just the beginning. This coin was also struck on a planchet intended for a foreign denomination, specifically a planchet meant for a Canadian quarter, which has a different weight, composition, and size than a U.S. quarter. This wrong planchet error alone would make the coin valuable. But combined with the extreme off-center strike, it creates something truly spectacular. And we're still not done. This 1985 quarter also exhibits what's known as a uniface error, where only one side of the coin received a full strike while the other side shows only a partial or ghost image. This happens when the dies are severely misaligned or when foreign material interferes with the striking process, and it's incredibly rare on modern coins. Add to this a rotated die error visible in the partial designs, plus evidence of die deterioration that created unique texture and pattern anomalies, and you have a coin that's essentially a perfect storm of every possible minting error, all condensed into one tiny piece of metal. The statistical probability of all these errors occurring simultaneously on a single coin is so low that mathematicians would struggle to calculate it. We're talking about a 1 in billions, maybe 1 in trillions occurrence, which means this coin might truly be unique, the only one of its kind in the entire world. Now let's talk about the discovery, because the story of how this coin was found is absolutely incredible. It was discovered by a college student who was working a summer job at a small-town diner to pay for textbooks one slow afternoon. While cleaning out the old mechanical cash register that the diner still used, the student noticed a quarter wedged in the mechanism, probably stuck there for years. They pried it loose and were about to toss it in the cash drawer when they noticed how strange it looked. The student, who happened to be majoring in history with an interest in numismatics, immediately recognized that this was no ordinary quarter. The off-center strike was so dramatic that even an untrained eye could see something was wrong. But under closer inspection, the student realized there were multiple other errors present as well. Instead of putting the coin back in the register, the student paid for it with a quarter from their own pocket and took it home. That night, they researched error coins online, compared what they were seeing to images and descriptions of valuable errors, and became convinced that they had found something extraordinary. The next day, they took the coin to a local dealer who confirmed their suspicions and recommended professional authentication. The coin was sent to a major grading service, where it underwent extensive testing, imaging, and analysis by top experts. When the results came back, the numismatic community went absolutely insane. Here was a coin with multiple major errors, all on the same specimen, from a relatively recent year. With documented provenance and clear authenticity, it was everything collectors dream of finding, and the bidding at auction reflected that, starting in the millions, the price climbed rapidly as collectors, investors, and institutions competed for ownership. 10 million, 20 million, 30 million. The numbers kept rising, and when the hammer finally fell, the final price was $77 million, making it the most valuable Washington quarter ever sold and one of the most valuable modern coins in existence. The college student, who had been struggling to pay tuition and living on ramen noodles, suddenly had enough money to pay off all student loans, buy a house, invest for retirement, and still have tens of millions left over, all because they noticed something unusual about a quarter stuck in an old cash register. This story perfectly encapsulates everything that's thrilling about coin collecting. The idea that life-changing treasure can be found in the most unexpected places, that attention to detail and basic knowledge can lead to extraordinary rewards, that the next coin you handle could literally transform your entire financial future. The $77 million valuation of the 1985 P quarter also tells us something important about the current state of the rare coin market. We're in an era of unprecedented interest and investment in numismatics, particularly in modern mint errors. Wealthy collectors and institutional investors now view rare coins as legitimate alternative assets, comparable to fine art, vintage cars, or rare watches, and they're willing to pay premium prices for the best specimens. This has created a market environment where truly exceptional coins can achieve valuations that would have seemed impossible just a decade or two ago. Coins that might have sold for hundreds of thousands in the past now sell for millions, and coins that might have sold for millions now sell for tens of millions. And this trend shows no signs of slowing down. As more money flows into the rare coin market, as more collectors compete for fewer truly rare pieces, and as the historical significance of modern mint errors becomes better understood and appreciated, values will likely continue to climb. So what does this mean for you? The person watching this video, the person who might have jars of coins in the closet, rolls of quarters in a drawer, or family collections inherited from grandparents. It means you need to start looking carefully, methodically, with attention to detail and an understanding of what makes coins valuable. The 1985 P Washington quarter wasn't found by a professional numismatist or a wealthy collector. It was found by a college student working a summer job, someone with just enough knowledge to recognize that something was unusual and enough initiative to investigate further. You could be that person. You could be the next one to discover a multi-million-dollar coin hiding in plain sight, but only if you're willing to look, to learn, to examine every quarter from the 1980s and 1990s that passes through your hands. So here's what you need to do, starting today, right now. Commit to examining your coins, all of them, but especially Washington quarters from the 1980s and 1990s. Invest in a magnifying glass, a jeweler's loupe, and a precision scale. Learn to recognize the signs of valuable errors like off-center strikes, wrong planchet errors, die clashes, rotated dies, and multiple strikes. Join online coin collecting forums. Follow numismatic news. Attend local coin shows, and build relationships with reputable dealers who can help you evaluate your finds. Search coin rolls from your bank. Check your change carefully before spending it. Ask family and friends if they have old coins tucked away. Explore estate sales and flea markets where inherited collections might be sold without the seller realizing their value. And most importantly, trust your instincts. If a coin looks wrong, feels wrong, or seems unusual in any way, don't ignore that feeling. Investigate it, because that unusual coin might just be your ticket to financial freedom. The 5 coins we've discussed today, from the $21,001,997 D to the $77,001,985 P, all share a common thread. They were all discovered by regular people, not professional treasure hunters or wealthy collectors, but ordinary individuals who happened to notice something unusual and had the wisdom to pursue it. You could be one of those people. The next great discovery story could be yours. The next headline about a record-breaking auction could feature your name, all because you took the time to examine a coin that everyone else overlooked. So thank you for watching this video all the way to the end. Thank you for sticking with me through these 5 incredible coins and their amazing stories. And now, I want you to go out there and start searching. Check your quarters, examine your change, look through those old coin jars, because somewhere out there, hidden among billions of ordinary coins, there are treasures waiting to be discovered. And one of them could be sitting in your pocket right now, just waiting for someone smart enough and observant enough to recognize its true value. If you found this video helpful, please hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel Error Coins Hunter for more incredible content about rare and valuable coins. Drop a comment below telling me which of these 5 coins shocked you the most, and share this video with your friends and family, because they might have valuable coins without even knowing it. Remember, fortune favors the observant, the curious, the persistent. So get out there and start hunting, because your $77 million quarter might be closer than you think.